In the 1890s, just before the advent of mechanical technology, several high-profile crimes were taking place in various countries across Europe. These crimes were committed by citizens of other countries who still used ancient rifles, cannons, and mounted vehicles as war tools. But in 1899, that ancient era will end and will be replaced by a new era and the advent of war technology. Emergence of this war technology begins one night in England, where a group of soldiers suddenly panicked after hearing a noise from outside their fort. The sound turned out to be coming from an iron-plated vehicle, and it was the world's first tank. The tank deliberately broke through their defenses and broke into a bank. After the tank destroys the safe door, a group of soldiers dressed as Nazis, led by a masked man, exits the tank and immediately takes the British soldiers hostage. The masked man's arrival was not to steal the diamond, but to take a blueprint belonging to a famous engineer, Leonardo da Vinci. After the attack, the British government accused Germany of being behind the attack on the bank, but the Germans of course denied because they did not attack the British at all. Until finally, on May 1, 1899, the masked man and his troops reappeared and attacked the military headquarters in Berlin, Germany. They also kidnapped some scientists and engineers for their personal purposes. Because of this incident, Germany blamed England until they ended up accusing each other. To deal with this problem, the British government then sent an agent named Sir Reed to go to Kenya to recruit a man who was an expert in hunting. Arriving at a club, Reed met the man he was looking for, Alan Quatermain. He is a skilled hunter and expert in shooting and strategizing. But unfortunately, Alan is now old and refused to accept Reed's offer to take on the masked man problem. At that moment, suddenly the masked man's men came to kill Alan. Even though Alan is old, he is able to kill them all. Even Alan can still shoot a man who's trying to escape from a great distance. When Alan was about to interrogate the last man, the man instead committed suicide. And suddenly an explosion occurred in Alan's favorite club. Realizing the current situation was very chaotic, Alan finally accepted Reed's offer. Long story short, Alan arrives in London and is greeted by Reed. Then Reed took Alan to meet his boss, who is often called M, or Mysterious. M then explains his plan to assemble a team of talented individuals known as the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, those with special abilities who will help rid the world of high-level evil. M then introduced Alan to one of the people he recruited, named Captain Indiana Nemo. He is the commander of the most advanced submarine ever, the Nautilus. Not only introduced to Nemo, M also introduced Alan to a member named Skinner, whose body was invisible as a result of the concoction he created. Besides, there is a member named Mina, who is a female vampire. They are all then given the task of fighting the threat of a masked man named Phantom, who is the real mastermind of the current crisis. But before fighting the Phantom, M asked the three of them to recruit two more men, Dorian Gray and Dr. Henry Jekyll. They then met Dorian Gray at his house. It turns out that Gray has extraordinary abilities. He can't die because his soul was exchanged with his own painting when he was young. So Dorian Gray is actually very old, even around 300 years old, so he should have died. While they were meeting, suddenly Phantom and his troops came to surround them. This made Alan confused. How could Phantom know about this meeting? At that time, Alan saw one of the men from the Phantom's troops who attacked the Phantom instead. Alan and the others then take this opportunity to join in on the Phantom's troops. In that battle, they showed their respective abilities, except for Mina, who instead hid. Knowing that his men were defeated, Phantom then chose to flee. But there is still one of Phantom's men holding Mina hostage, and this is where Mina shows her ability by biting and sucking the man's blood. After that, they interrogated the man who attacked the Phantom earlier. It turns out that the man is an American secret agent, Tom Sawyer, who was assigned to fight the Phantom. Knowing their mission is the same, Alan allows Sawyer to join his group. They then leave for Paris to recruit Dr. Jekyll, and to get there, they use the Nautilus, which looks like a sword. Arriving in Paris, Alan and Sawyer chase after Dr. Jekyll, who turns out to be able to transform into a giant after drinking a magic potion. Using his gun, Alan managed to lure Dr. Jekyll into the trap and immediately brought him into the ship. On the ship, Dr. Jekyll goes berserk, but he finally agrees to join the group after Alan informs him that the Queen of England will reward Dr. Jekyll with amnesty to return to his homeland in England. After the team is complete, they then travel to Venice, because M reports that Phantom is planning a bombing there. On the way, Nemo and his assistant find something wrong when they find camera flash powder in the wheelhouse. He suspected that their submarine was being infiltrated by the enemy. Mina, who was in her room, was then approached by Gray, who suddenly discussed their past, and it turns out they are both ex-lovers. Gray then built up the old atmosphere by asking Mina to drink a glass of syrup, but the glass broke, injuring Mina's finger. Here, Gray wipes the blood on Mina's finger, and the two of them then drift off in a romantic mood. Meanwhile, Dr. Jekyll accidentally discovers that one of his magic potions is missing. He reported this to Nemo and Alan, and he accused Skinner of being the thief because he is invisible. Long story short, they finally arrived in Venice. Just below the river, there are explosives already installed by the Phantom. When all teams landed to locate the bomb, suddenly the bomb exploded. Alan, Sawyer, Mina, and Gray then immediately drove Nemo's car and went downtown to stop the explosion. But on the way, they were attacked by Phantom's men, which forced Gray and Mina to go down to get rid of them. Not only that, Alan also came down after accidentally seeing Phantom waving in an alley. Sawyer then took control of the car and kept driving, until he finally reached the point where the bomb was located. At that moment, Nemo immediately launched a missile at the location, which resulted in a big explosion, but it managed to stop the Phantom's bomb explosion. Alan then chases the Phantom to a cemetery. There, Alan had a fight with the Phantom, and to his surprise, Alan discovers that Phantom is actually the M. Still in shock, Alan let the M go and run away. Meanwhile, Nemo's assistant, who is repairing something, is suddenly shot by Gray, who then reveals that he was the one who stole Dr. Jekyll's potion. After he is shot, Nemo's assistant immediately informs the rest of the team that Gray is the culprit for the theft. At the same time, Alan also said that Phantom turned out to be the M. At that moment, Gray got out of the ship using Nemo's cruiser capsule and just left. When the team was tracking Gray, they suddenly got a package in the form of a recording plate, and when the disc was played, it was revealed that M and Gray had been working together from the start. Everything about this squad is also a sham, so M and Gray can steal the physical elements of each of the League's members and build an army of superpowered soldiers, like Captain Nemo's science, Dr. Jekyll's potions, Mina's blood, and an invisible sample of Skinner's skin. M also explains that he needs Alan Quatermain just to catch Dr. Jekyll. M then said that he deliberately started a world war so he could sell weapons based on the strength of the League to the warring countries, and after the tape was destroyed by Nemo, 3 bombs installed by Gray suddenly exploded. The explosion caused the ship to leak. Dr. Jekyll then immediately drank the potion and turned into Mr. Hyde. He then opened the hatch to let the water in the boat out, and it turned out that his effort was successful. After Neotilus was safe, they got a secret coded message from Skinner, who apparently sneaked into Gray's capsule. In the message, Skinner informed his team that Gray was heading to the North Pole, where the M base was located. Without wasting any time, they went straight there. Arriving at the North Pole, they finally found the base M, which was in an industrial fortress. However, because they had not received further information from Skinner, they decided to rest in the cave. After a long wait, Skinner finally appeared. Skinner tells them all that M has been holding a number of scientists and their families hostage, as well as enslaving people to make hundreds of war munitions, including making tanks and clones of the Neotilus ship. Not only that, M also copied all of their powers through the samples he stole. Meanwhile, in the factory, it turns out that M is not working directly with Gray, but he forced Gray to help him because he had stolen a painting that was Gray's weakness. Alan then led the team into the factory and started taking out some of the soldiers, while Skinner began to plant bombs in several corners of the room. In that action, one of the soldiers managed to escape and immediately reported this to M. Knowing this, M prepares to leave with all the super serums. However, he is immediately stopped by Alan and Sawyer. At that moment, M's troops appeared, which gave M an opening to escape. While Alan and Sawyer chase M, Nemo and Dr. Jekyll shoot out with M troops led by Dante. Meanwhile, Minna meets Gray and starts fighting with him. But since neither of them could die, the fight was useless. Until finally, Minna found Gray's painting and immediately showed it to Gray so that Gray's soul returned, then he died to ashes. While chasing M, Sawyer and Alan were suddenly harassed by M's men who had turned into Skinner. Sawyer then confronts M's men, while Alan manages to corner M. While Alan is battling M, Nemo and Dr. Jekyll are still dealing with Dante, who is desperate to drink all of Hyde's potions in large quantities. This makes Dante turn into a giant monster and start fighting against Dr. Jekyll. In the middle of the fight, suddenly the explosives installed by Skinner exploded. The super explosion kills Dante when crushed by the rubble, while Alan finally manages to hold M at gunpoint. But when Alan was about to kill M, he saw Sawyer being held hostage by an invisible person, and Alan was forced to shoot the person, while M took this opportunity to stab Alan and then ran away. Sawyer then used his rifle to shoot M as it headed towards the cruiser capsule. Thanks to directions from Alan, Sawyer manages to kill M and drop his super sample into the icy lake. Alan, who was badly injured, then told Sawyer that Sawyer would take his place, and after that Alan died from loss of blood. The following day, the team arrived in Kenya, Africa, to bury Alan Quatermain. As they left feeling sad, a Kenyan shaman came and performed a ritual by taking a handful of earth from Alan's grave and starting to cast a spell. When the shaman casts a spell, Alan's grave suddenly shakes, and Alan comes back to life, and the film ends.